How we do this. First of all, you want to show that you are a part of the academic community. You want to show that your writing does not rely mainly on personal opinion. You want to show evidence of informed and relevant readings. You want to show the process by which you have arrived at your own conclusions about a topic. You want to show your ability to integrate material from a range of sources, to show evidence of an analytical approach to your source material, to enable readers to follow up on perspectives of particular interest to them, and to avoid plagiarism. We will discuss plagiarism later on this semester, but it is by far one of the most important reasons why you want to use sources and cite them appropriately. So first, I'd like to talk about summarizing. In your academic writing, you want to keep the emphasis on your ideas and your language. You will use your own words to summarize sources and explain your points. When you summarize a source, you express another writer's ideas in your own words, condensing the author's key points and using fewer words than the author. Notice here how long the original passage is, and the summary is maybe a third of the length of the original passage. So let's talk about some reasons why you might want to summarize. The first reason is to simplify, when you want to state the source's main ideas simply and briefly in your own words. The next reason is to condense, when a passage is lengthy and you want to condense a chapter to a paragraph or a paragraph to a sentence. The last is to compare, when you want to compare arguments or ideas from various sources, and also compare to provide readers with an understanding of the source's argument before you respond to it or launch into your own argument. There are several steps for summarizing. Step 1 is to identify the author's main idea. You will gather information from the title. You will identify the place it was published, determine the type of the essay, determine the date of publication, take note of the tone of the piece. Is it written formally for an academic audience or more informally? And you will identify certain notions or arguments that seem to be repeated throughout. All of this just to sum up the author's main idea. Now, in a writer's reference, you can usually, several of the articles in Several of the articles in From Inquiry have different sections, and a lot of those will have an intro section. You will very well probably find the author's main idea in that section, so keep that in mind. Step 2, and this comes straight from a writer's reference as well, you will outline the author's key points. So underline the topic sentence. This says of each paragraph. Again, whenever we're looking at From Inquiry, several of the articles have sections, so I might underline the topic sentence of each section. Write that sentence in your own words on the side of the page. When you finish the article, read all the topic sentences you marked or wrote down. And in your own words, rewrite those main ideas. Use complete sentences with good transition words. And be sure you don't use the same words, phrases, or sentence structure as the original. And this is from a writer's reference, an example outline of key points. So you might want to turn to page 62 or 63 to see how it's set up. So each section has a main point and then lists a few pieces of evidence that are used in that section. The third step is thinking about how the essay concludes. Does the author conclude the essay with a call to action, with a question, with an anecdote or a story? What does the author do? Talk about it in your conclusion. Again, this is an example from a writer's reference. Couple things to think about. You always want to start a summary with a signal phrase. This will be the author's name and the title of the work. Here are several ways to do this. In big box stores are bad for Main Street, Betsy Taylor explains, or according to Betsy Taylor in big box stores, or Betsy Taylor claims. After you come up with your signal phrase, combine the thesis of the article with the title and author into your first sentence of the summary. Here's an example from page 63. So in her essay, Big Box Stores Are Bad for Main Street, Betsy Taylor argues that chain stores harm communities by taking the life out of downtown shopping districts. The third thing to note, your first sentence should summarize the article. The rest of your summary should cover some of the central concepts used to support the thesis. Be sure to restate these ideas in your own words and to make your summary as short and concise as possible. Condense sentences and leave out unimportant details and examples. And make sure, I can't stress enough, that you put everything in your own words. If you borrow words, you will have to put it in quotations, but regardless, you will cite in text. Here's an example summary, again from a writer's reference, page 63. In her essay, Big Box Stores, Betsy Taylor argues that chain stores harm communities by taking the life out of downtown shopping districts. Explaining that a community's soul is more important than low prices or consumer convenience, she argues that small businesses are better than stores like Home Depot and Target because they emphasize personal interactions and don't place demands on communities' resources. Taylor asserts that big box stores are successful because we've become a nation of hyper-consumers. Notice here that the writer takes exact language, so it must be put in quotations. Although the convenience of shopping in these stores comes at the expense of benefits to the community. She concludes by suggesting that it's not anti-American to oppose big box stores because the damage they inflict on downtown shopping districts extends